This podcast is also available via stagelink.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts. I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto, and my guest on today's Circuspreneur podcast is Dr. Trina Wiggins. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Trina. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so honored to have you on the podcast, Dr. Trina, and to let the audience know just a little bit about you before we go into the podcast. Dr. Trina Wiggins is a board-certified pediatrician, in Las Vegas, Nevada. She attended Stanford University, where she received a BA degree in human biology and was the first African-American on Stanford University women's gymnastics team. Besides being a pediatrician, she competes in fitness and dance competitions. She has competed in over 60 shows over the past 20 years with many top place finishes. In September 2022, she won gold at the Nevada State Senior Olympics. And in June 2024, she competed in the World Fitness Forum and received first place. In addition to practicing medicine and competing, she became an author in June 2020. During the COVID pandemic, she published her first book entitled KISS, Keep It Short and Simple for a Healthy, Sustainable Lifestyle. She bundled all her knowledge as a physician, former collegiate athlete, and fitness professional to create the ultimate guide for living a healthy yet simple lifestyle. Her second book, The Sugar Seduction, was published in April of 2022. More recently, she released the first book of a comic book series for children titled The Sugar Attack. This series will educate our youth about health, nutrition, and wellness with the goal of mitigating some of the chronic diseases we see in adults. During this stage in her life, her goal is to educate the masses of people through her books and weekly Facebook Live health talks on Tuesday mornings. Dr. Trina is also the first patent holder for skin tone matching chalk, known as chocolate chalk, that can be used for physical performances, competitiveness, and in the performing arts. Welcome again, your bio. Your life is just absolutely magnificent, Dr. Trina. You are so fantastic, and I was so honored to meet you this past year, not that long ago,
Yes.
at Brown Girls Do Gymnastics conference in Atlanta, Georgia, where we were both clinicians. You were presenting your chocolate chalk and also to obviously giving a talk about your experiences and your life as a competitive gymnast at Stanford University. And so I was so floored because I had not heard of you, and I was curious as to why I had not heard of you because you're so famous and what you did and how historic and what a trailblazer you were. So it was just a wonderful experience to get to know you, to be educated on your life and your mission, and then how many things that you have done in your phenomenal life. I know I didn't speak about it as much in the bio, but your family is really amazing. You're married to a doctor, your husband's a doctor, your sons are incredibly successful. Your daughter is an attorney in Texas, your sons, you can go into that and speak a little bit about them too. But just a phenomenal, phenomenal story of someone who started off, as we all did, as Black gymnasts and then made our way through this life and using our gymnastics to just go far above and beyond. So I would like to just, get into, you tell us a little bit about what you were doing at Brown Girls Gymnastics, I guess, to start off of.
Yes. So I became familiar with Brown Girls Gymnastics actually last summer. I spoke at the conference for
Oh.
the first time, and
Mhm.
I was talking about how to get your child a collegiate athletic scholarship. What is the blueprint? What does the template look like? Because it is a strategy. So I educated the parents and the young girls about what it takes to achieve an athletic scholarship. Given that my husband was a collegiate athletic athlete at Vanderbilt University, he was a football player.
Wow.
So
Oh
yes,
my
and he
gosh.
was a pioneer. I mean, he was one of the first African American football players. I was, at Stanford University as a gymnast, the first Black gymnast to compete for Stanford. And then my sons, I have twin sons who are actually the third set of twins to play basketball at Stanford, behind the Collins and the Lopez twins. And my twins are guards. They were like, sinners. But so yes, it's we all love sports.
Oh my gosh. They are so incredible. And one of your sons actually played in the NBA, right? For the
Right.
Lakers.
Yes, he did.
He
Yes.
played with Kobe Bryant.
Well, you know what? He just missed Kobe because he was on the
Oh, we
team,
just
but
missed
then
Kobe.
exactly. But Kobe was his inspiration. I mean, both of my sons, we even had Kobe Bryant Laker birthday parties. They were so into him. But what I really appreciate is they modeled their game after him and that Mamba mentality. So
Mm.
all good.
Oh wow. Yes. My mom is from LA, and it's LA 2028 all the way now. And
Yes,
everything in LA right now is a tribute to Kobe and his legacy and to
yes,
Gigi. So I was just there the other day. And so it's like all over the place, and it's
nice.
beautiful. All of these different monuments and everything, and just honoring his legacy. And it's just so amazing that your family is also a part of that legacy. And I had actually one question for you about that. How did you, with this incredible athletic background yourself and competing in gymnastics, raise competitive children to go that far? Because I hear that the most. How do I become the parent that creates what, even if they were a competitive gymnast or competitive athlete, they still have a lot of questions of, okay, I know how I did it for myself, but how do I instill that in my children so that they can, get as far as they want to go?
Right. So when they were younger, we just exposed them to a lot of different sports. I didn't say you need to do basketball or you need to do gymnastics, but the first sport they did try was gymnastics because I think gymnastics obviously teaches you, balance, coordination, agility. So just basic skills. So we started off with gymnastics and then we transitioned to soccer. It was so funny. So I was here in Vegas and we're at a soccer field. Then I have this guy come running over to me and he saw the license plates on my car. He goes, "You went to Stanford?" He goes, "So did I." "You have kids that play soccer? Your kids want to play soccer with my kids?" So it was just really weird. So we had a team literally with four parents who all went to Stanford, and our kids played competitive soccer together. And
Wow.
they were great at the sport. They won 2 years in a row. They didn't have any losses, so it was a great experience. And soccer taught them footwork. And so
Mm.
after we finished soccer, we decided they start, getting into Kobe Bryant and the Lakers and Shaq, and they wanted to pursue basketball. So that's what we did. And but watching Kobe Bryant and his work ethic, his dedication, his passion for the sport really rubbed off on my children. And they say, "We want to be like him." And I said, "Well, to be like him, you really got to put everything you got into it to succeed." And they followed his path and his words of wisdom. And
Wow.
in their room, we have so many Kobe Bryant. We had so many, quotes of his, and they've used their quotes not only, in their rooms, but when they were writing their personal statements for, one's in law school and one's in medical school, and they use that, in their statements. So it really touched their hearts.
That's amazing, and also too amazing to have mentors and different athletes to look up to, right? And my question is, who did you look up to at that time, Dr. Trina, on your collegiate gymnastics journey? I looked up to gymnasts at the time. There was Dominic Dawes, there was Tasha Swikert. There was not that many black gymnasts, even though I also looked up to obviously all the other gymnasts too. I mean, like I love Shannon Miller, I love
Yes,
Dominique Dawes, I love Amy
yes.
Chow, like I loved everybody. But who was your expansion? Because that was also a very different time. We've discussed that of going into collegiate gymnastics and even going into Stanford at the time, which I keep telling you, you are my dad's dream. You did everything he wanted me to do that I did not do. I went to the circus. He wanted me to become a doctor. He wanted me to go to Stanford, and I didn't do any of it. Anyhow,
But guess what?
I tell him about you all
We're
the
both
time.
successful in what we do. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, he is proud, but thank you for saying that.
so yeah, so the story started. It was the summer of 1972. I was 11, and I remember, I was lacing my tennis shoes up, getting ready to go play kickball with all the kids on my block, 63rd Street in Oakland, California, and the TV was on in the background. I happened to look up and I see Olga Korbut, the Russian
Mm.
gymnast, do a no hand backflip on the balance beam. I was like, "Oh my God, what is this sport?" Because I had no clue. I think this was the first time the Olympics was actually televised. So
Wow.
I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, come down here right now. I said, I want you to see Olga. And she's like, who is Olga? So she comes running down. And and we look at all the gymnastics. And I told her right then and there, I want to do this. It was literally an aha moment. And I got the phone book from Oakland, California. Obviously, no computer. And I'm looking in the yellow pages, trying to find gymnastics in Oakland. It didn't exist. So I said, Mom, can you take me to the Berkeley Public Library, where I checked out 13 phone books, brought them home, and I'm looking, gymnastics, gymnastics. And I finally found a club in Walnut Creek, California called Diablo Gymnastics. It was about 20 to 25, 25 minutes on a good day. Traffic would have been a little bit more to get there. But my mom was committed to having me do gymnastics because she knew that I was so, gung ho about doing this. So she signed me up. I moved up the ladder rather quickly. I was obsessed. I was flipping back in the day, we had these vinyl runners on carpet. I was flipping that in the dining room, right into the living room. I asked my mother to buy me a balance beam so we could put it in the backyard since we didn't have practice on Sunday. So I said, oh, on Sundays, I can practice balance beam. So
Same.
yeah. So
Same.
I was obsessed with the sport and just loved it. I mean, I had to get special permission from high school to get out of school at 1 o'clock, so I can take the bus down the hill to get on BART, to take BART. That's the Bay Area Rapid Transit, to take it to Walnut Creek, where I trained from 2 to 7. Then my mother would pick me up. I'm doing, getting home, eating dinner, finishing homework, and that was my life, back then. So that's how I got started.
Wow, that's amazing. And can you take us into the journey of when you decided, okay, this maybe seems like a path, collegiately? Because I know that the system was different. Obviously, the system has changed so much now, and I would love to discuss that with you too, of how things have changed and developed since you entered collegiate gymnastics. So, what was your next stage into entering into Stanford?
Right. So at before I understand my senior year, I stopped gymnastics at Diablo. I didn't feel that I was progressing as quickly as I should have. I mean, up the ladder. I vividly remember a meet in Arizona. It was a regional meet. Now, your scores at the end of the meet. I mean, we've all seen how this has played out with the Olympics. So I had come in second place, and there was an emergency judges meeting. And
Hmm.
once that was over, I ended up in fifth place. And as a young gymnast, that's kind of devastating, right? And you sit there, you
Yeah.
work as hard as you can, and then you want to get extra help, but
Hmm.
you really couldn't get extra help. And, it was like, why am I doing this? Okay. So then I said, okay, I took that year off. I get to Stanford. I find out they hired a new women's gymnastics coach from LSU. And I'm like, oh. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go see if I could try out or walk on. Well, lo and behold, that worked. And I was given a partial scholarship to compete for Stanford. And
Wow.
it was so nice bringing back all my tricks I had learned and just meeting some of the women on the team. And what was really interesting, a couple of the girls from my club in Walnut Creek were accepted to Stanford the following year. So I had some familiarity with, my teammates. And so I did rather well. This my second year there, I broke this record for vaulting for Stanford. And then after that, not too long after that, that's when I had my knee injury. And then I had to make the tough decision. I had to say, well, do I want to I got the surgery, but do I want to rehab and continue with gymnastics, or do I want to pursue my career in medicine? Well, back then, even now, it's like, what are you going to do after gymnastics in college? There's the Olympics, and back then I didn't, I'm thinking, I really love gymnastics, but I think I need to go to pursue my dream to go to medical school. So that's what I did.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, and and that's for those listening in, that's pretty typical. It happens a lot where you get an injury ending career and you have to decide which path you want to go down. And I mean, and then you had the brilliant path of pursuing medicine. Within your experience of collegiate gymnastics, did you have any difficulties within that experience being the first black gymnast on a gymnastics team, on the Stanford gymnastics team at that time too? Did that shape kind of your experience there at all, or did you actually not really have any difficulties in how you were treated or what you experienced? You sound like you had just like a wonderful time.
It was a good time. It was a good time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't experience any of that, the judging thing that was in club that I in college. I mean,
Mm.
I I felt that the scores I got is what I deserved. I didn't feel any type of discrepancy or anything different. And it was really nice having some of my teammates, from the club on the team, and we're still friends to this day. We go back to Stanford night for alumni for gymnastics, and we see each other there. So it's really, yeah, it's heartwarming. So I
Mm.
ended on a great note. I couldn't
Mm.
thank Jackie Walker, who was the coach who came from LSU, for giving me the opportunity to compete. And so it was great. It was great.
And also too, during those times when you were speaking about where do you go next, that was what I was speaking to the girls and the parents at Brown Girls Do Gymnastics about. Like during those times, you couldn't just go to Cirque du Soleil or,
No,
maybe use a bit more of your skill to go into the circus because like, I'm a very big advocate for that, even post NCAA, and you get your degree and then you can maybe go and you can go and work in the circus arts industry, which was not so prolific back then. I mean, the performing arts was not the segue that it is now for gymnastics.
exactly. And it was really, like I said, I was always wanted to be a physician. And
Hmm.
that stemmed from kind of a sad note, but my dad was diagnosed with a terminal illness when I was in like 15. And what I witnessed during this time, my mother, her relentless search to help use food as medicine for my dad. I mean,
Mm.
I went to health fairs with her, to the library. I was like tagging along. I remember her buying a wheatgrass juicer in the 70s, which is like totally like she was totally ahead of her time, right? So
Yes.
she so she would, juice this wheatgrass. She even would
Mm.
we would even store wheatgrass and grow it in our backyard. So witnessing her do the wheatgrass, juicing the fruits and vegetables, going to different seminars. I was there. So I saw her dedication. I saw her belief in using food as medicine. And that was like, that really piqued my interest in medicine. And what can I do to help people from a medical standpoint? And that's where that all started.
Well, you are your mother's daughter because the way that you advocated for yourself to have a gymnastics career, you and the way that your mother advocated to heal your father is really phenomenal. So I see where you get it from. I mean, she's obviously a brilliant, wonderful, human being and mentor for you throughout your entire life.
Well, absolutely.
And I love that that segued into health and health for children. That's a very important initiative for myself as a survivor of UC Gymnastics and working for countless years on policy to protect children and to
Yes.
protect the well-being of children. And especially nowadays, folks are very concerned about their children's well-being. They're much more sedentary. They don't go into gymnastics like we
Yes.
did. They don't have the similar childhoods that I did just even not that long ago. I mean, I'm
Right.
a younger millennial in that way. And you see that there is this really big gap between how children are feeling, how they're experiencing life, and their overall health. So the books that you've put out are so phenomenally important. I mean, you're obviously a pediatrician, Dr. Trina, and so the importance of that has also piqued my interest because I think that children's health comes in so many different shapes and forms, and that it's really a dire. I think it's one of the biggest dire situations out there in society, especially with the influence of social media.
Yes.
I've recently worked on a lot of bills around that, and getting certain things passed to protect children around their mental health issues around
Yes.
social media, which will also affect their physical well-being. It's not just mental health, which is what I tell folks about. So I would love to hear more about your books that you put out, and then also to get into, we'll segue into your fitness career, which is also phenomenal because you look absolutely fantastic,
Thank you.
and how you've kept up your health and your fitness. And, you could probably just segue that in through your feedback, and telling us about your great work, in pursuing children's health.
Yes. So I just want to start. There's a physician. He's a pediatrician at University of California, San Francisco. And I remember reading an article, and he said, if we don't get a grip on our children's health and the obesity that's going on within our children, then parents will start outliving their children because we're seeing some of these chronic diseases
Yes.
start at a much younger age. Now, back in my day, grandma or auntie, whoever, maybe didn't come down with high blood pressure, diabetes until maybe midlife. But we're seeing kids, young children, develop these chronic diseases at a young age, which is frightening. So it's imperative that we as a nation do something to address this. And I know a few years back, I used to hold fitness and nutrition camps for kids where during the summer they would come in, we would do like a very fun workout, have stations, 1 minute at each station, because I know attention spans that long, but we had like 12 stations. We had flashing like Christmas lights. We made it fun. Okay. And the kids loved it. They didn't think they were exercising. Okay. So after the exercise, we would have a nutrition component. And with the nutrition component, so one part of it, I would have them bring in, what is your favorite snack or meal? So one kid brought in Kraft macaroni and cheese. So what I would do, I would get a healthier version of that, say from, Sprouts or Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, one of those stores. And then we would analyze the food label. So I taught them how to read a food label, okay? And showed them, okay, now we know this one is better from you. It has, has no cholesterol, has low fat, low sodium, no sugar added. Oh yeah, they can understand. That's the good one. So then we had to taste it. So then we would cook it. And I would say, how does this taste? You got to check it with your taste buds. And 9 out of 10 times the kids are, oh, this is great. This is really good. So at the end of the camp, I would comprise a list for each parent of all the foods the kids said that was better tasting and that they should try. And so then the parents were happy because we're creatures of habit. We don't like buying anything and wasting money. So if the parents found out that the kid really liked this, then they were more apt to go buy it, right? So and the parents were happy. They were like, oh, we shared this with Uncle Joe. We shared this with cousin such and such. So it was almost like a domino effect. So, like I said, you got to just try something and we cannot just not be creatures of habit. You have to expand your taste buds and know that sometimes it takes up to 2 to 3 weeks for your taste buds to get acclimated to something new. But it was good. And the parents thought it was a good program that introduced them to expanding their horizons.
Wow. I mean, in every single stage of our lives, I think that it's important that we focus on taking care of ourselves. And
Yes.
again, we're seeing that so much with the younger generation right now, and people thinking they can just throw whatever at kids and they'll be fine because they're resilient and
No,
it won't affect them.
it starts at a young age. And that's why I said, what can I do now to educate kids? Okay.
Hmm.
Where they really get it. And I said, why not do it in a cartoon format? Short book, not too long to read,
Hmm.
all the significant points in there about whatever I want to talk about, and to get the word out. So I figured, why not do a series? So, like I said, the first book in the series, The Sugar Attack, and my next a series of the book will be hopefully released in the beginning of 2025. And that book is talking about salt. We're going to talk about the salty six. So we're just going to take small chunks, small digestible pieces of information, put it in a cartoon format, make it short because we know people's attention spans are not long, people like pictures, or especially with kids, to try to get the message of health, wellness, and fitness across.
That's phenomenal. I'm so glad that you're doing that, Dr. Trina. And you focus on, kind of beginning of life as a pediatrician with your phenomenal work, but you also focus on, progressing into your life as well. I mean, your post gymnastics career has been absolutely phenomenal in taking care of yourself at your next stage in life, which is
Yes.
also phenomenally important. It all matters. And keeping up with your health in the way that you have, you just look absolutely fabulous. For listeners, if you get to see Dr. Trina in person, she looks just as fit as she did when she competed at Stanford, I have to say.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, you were at, you competed at the Senior Olympics, you're winning world titles, Dr. Trina, after all of these years of taking such good care of yourself. So I would love to listen to how you got into fitness competitions, why you do it, and what inspires you to continue to take such amazing care of yourself, other than the fact that you are a doctor and this phenomenal person.
Well, so it started back in, well, I think 2003. My sister was here in town and we were looking for a wedding venue for her. So we're at our last stop at the Rio Resort and Casino. And so we go in up to the fifth floor, wherever the wedding planner was, and she was running late. Lo and behold, we looked on a huge marquee sign and it said Miss Fitness USA. And my sister said, I wonder what that is. I was like, I don't know. So she said, let's go check it out since the wedding planner's running late. So we go check it out. And we're like, lo and behold, we see women doing someone like a floor exercise routine, but it was done with costumes, music, props. And my sister goes, you can do that. I know you can do that. So I'm sitting there, we're watching, then they had to do a speech with evening gown. And as a little side, my platform was talking about childhood obesity and how to address that crisis. And so anyway, I got home that day. Can I still do the splits? Can I still do, I started doing stuff in my backyard. It was as simple as that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I can still do that. So then I go to the local YMCA, and there was a Tiny Tots cheerleading coach. And because I was a member at the YMCA, I said, do you think you can help me create a routine using a few props? And can we come up with something? She goes, sure. So she helped me come up with my first routine. I chose the childhood obesity, and the rest is history. 20 years later, I'm still, doing my thing. So
Oh
that's
my
how it,
gosh.
that's how it got started.
20 years later. Wow. You've been going for so long in this portion too. I mean, like the gymnastics never left you. I
Well,
mean,
it's like riding a bike. You remember
mm,
mentally, and then you have to just work on it. And I find out, like, the older I get, I just got to make sure, first of all, I got to stay in my lane. I came up with a quote. It says, if you want to stay in the game, you got to stay in your lane. I can't do stuff I did in my early 40s. I'm 63 now. So I have to do stuff that I know I feel comfortable with, that I'm not going to get injured doing. So if you want to stay in the game, you got to stay in your lane. That's my philosophy. So like I said, I practice weekly. Now I used to practice back in my start. I started at 42. When I started, I would practice twice a week, and I will do like 14 routines a week. Now it's I practice twice a week, and I do 4 routines a week. So I
mm.
tell myself it's about quality of routine, not quantity. So I go in there with that mindset. I'm going to do a perfect routine in my eyes, and I'm going to leave. I'm not going to be like when I was a kid. Ooh, one more, mom, one more. She used to come to the gym. I'm like, just one more, and she was like, Trina, we have to go.
I love it. Again, I was the exact same way. I just like I could not get enough. But like you said, it's smarter. And my entire experience throughout my career, it's changed a lot as well. I don't go for broke. You have to, like you said, you have to do it smarter, not harder. And it really will determine, I believe, how long you stay in the game, how your career goes, your abilities,
Yes.
all those things. When people say, how have you been going for so long? It's like, because within every single kind of, different things have come up, but I have redesigned my practices. I've redesigned how I train. I've redesigned
Oh,
everything
yes.
to accommodate, the different times in my life. And I think that that has really, really supported me, and helped me. Dr. Trina, to round out the podcast, we are
Yes.
coming to a close. And so in our last few minutes, I wanted to also discuss your brilliant innovation, chocolate chalk. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on about skin tone matching chalk. From my competitive days of me and my sister being like the only brown girls in acrobatic gymnastics, just covered in white chalk, head to toe. It like looking in photos from years and years ago. All you don't even see us. All you see is like white blankets. You don't even see our costumes, our leotards. You don't see how pretty they were or sparkling. If we had had skin tone matching chalk, the way I say that this would have been such a game changer. And I say even more so than the liquid chalk that I started using a few years ago, which is also great and a really amazing innovation. But if you have brown skin, it still leaves a bit of a film on your skin in
Yes.
performances that kind of glow in the dark, I say.
Yes.
When I talk about my experience with liquid chalk, and using that for performances. So, what was your inspiration behind it, other than, I think, the obvious? And please tell us how you came to innovate this really amazing thing that I just want to blow up just absolutely everywhere.
Well, you know what? It really started. The San Francisco Chronicle did an article about me in the early 70s, and they have a picture of me on the bars. And all I see is chalk from head to toe. Just like you said, I'm like, oh, people really don't know who I am. Or after a meet, I will be covered with, now, our cameras back then were not that good, especially for darker skinned people. So when you looked at pictures back then, you saw my pearly white teeth and chalk. Oh, and I'm like sitting here going, and I would have thought over the past 50 years, someone would have come up with something. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking one day, I'm like, wait a minute, no one has done this. Why not me? So I said, I started experimenting with just regular household things. And I said, okay, okay, that works. Then I said, okay, fine. Let me find out who I could speak with, who can help me develop something like this. So I came across a lady who's a PhD in cosmetic chemistry. And I said, look, this is what I want to do. And she goes, sounds brilliant. And I want to be a part of it. So we had many meetings. Thank God she's here in Las Vegas. So every time she makes a change, I go right over. I bought myself some P bars so I can check out the gripability of it. I have the same type of what do you call it? Texture as the balance beam, so I can just feel, because I want to make sure that it's right. Because if you can have chalk, but if it doesn't have good gripability, I made that word up, but then it's worthless. So I'm going back and forth testing things to make sure it's right. So, and right now we're trying to get it into a block form, because I know a lot of the collegiate gymnasts use chalk in a block form. So we're very close to completing that. And like the goal is just to offer people options, and not just for people of color. My chemist she's from Norway. She is very, very fair. And our lightest color of the chalk is called blonde chocolate. She puts that on, it looks better. So, it just makes for a better photo op. I wish I had something like this back then, because all my pictures are just they're just, and it's no way to even get, take it to a Photoshop to make it better. It's just, you see my white teeth and you see the white chalk, literally from head to toe. So my hope is that now young ladies can have great photos and just feel better about themselves.
Yes, in any skin tone, because like we all know,
Yes,
no one looks good covered in chalk.
but
No one. It
no
doesn't
one.
matter what you look like. Like
Ex-
it does not matter. So
ex-
this is like this is the best thing ever, Dr. Trina.
Well, I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to get it out there to people because it's so needed. Like I said, I thought someone would have come up with something over the past several decades, but nothing has. But a friend of mine was sharing. It's just like with the what's the tape called, the different color tape they have now for athletes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
all that makes a difference, and it has an impact on your self-esteem, especially when you're performing. You want to feel good about yourself, so I think it's a win-win.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think it's a win-win, Dr. Trina. Where can folks find the chocolate chalk if they want to pursue that, and where can they find you?
Yes. So on my website, which is www.trina, Trina Wiggins, Wiggins.com. So it's just my name. It's about, you can learn about me, more about me, and you can also, there is a email sign up for the chocolate chalk. So when we're finalized with everything, then I will email everyone. Here's where you can purchase it. But I'm probably going to develop a website specifically for that, and that's coming really soon. Like I'm talking about probably within the next six to 8 weeks at the most.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Dr. Trina. That is so phenomenal. Everyone, get your chocolate chalk, get on that email list, contact Dr. Trina. This is like a really revolutionary product. And I know that we are all just like jumping for joy that someone took the time to create something that will just like change the way that we all feel about ourselves, whether that we're competing or performing. And I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Trina, for coming onto the podcast. You are so amazing. You have a phenomenal story. You're a phenomenal human being. And I'm just really grateful for your journey, for trailblazing, and for showing folks that at every single stage of your life, you can make an impact, you can be phenomenal. And thank you so much for all the brilliant and important work that you're doing in this world.
Well, thank you. And I just want to leave you with my Instagram. So it's at Trina.R.Wiggins.
Fantastic. This Circuspreneur podcast is also available on stagelink.com, stagelync.com, the groundbreaking new platform for live performing arts that provides unmatched access and connection to this vibrant world of shows and entertainment. If you're a professional in the performing arts, visit stagelink.com/pro. stagelync.pro. StageLink Pro offers industry professionals higher visibility, networking opportunities, and tools to support and enhance their careers. Until next time, everyone, I'm your host, Shanae Stiletto. Please stay safe and stay healthy.